going, guys? Mickey, if not Cartel, back with another kick-ass beer review. So, the goods have arrived. We have the latest from Stone and Wood Counterculture limited release beers. Once a month we receive two 500ml cans of their limited release as part of the beer club. $15 a month gets you 2 cans set out, as I mentioned, every month. Won't go too much into it, but recently Stone and Wood sold. We've got a few kind of butthurt people, particularly because these guys were very staunch on remaining independent, said they would never sell out, they would always remain independent. That's not the case here. A stupid and rather large sum of money was thrown at these guys to sell out to one of the big conglomerates. Lion Nathan and Colton United, CUB, seem to be taking over a hell of a lot. So we've lost quite a few good breweries to the big conglomerates, but in that loss, a lot of these beers have not changed in any way, and I don't expect these guys to change either. As part of the agreement, they remain to continue to work in the same way they always did, keep the employees, keep the same recipes, same brewing process. The only thing we've sort of seen recently with some of the sellouts was that they made the beers exactly the same way and just went with lower cost products. So whether it be lower cost of grain, and a lot of the time I feel it's the water chemistry as well that they seem to let go of, and they just keep brewing it the same way, but without the good stuff that really goes into the beers. So what do we got? We've got the Bloom Springs, a new age IPA, 500ml can as stated, 6.4% ABV, 2.5 standard drinks. These guys hail out of Byron Bay, New South Wales. Can statement goes, beyond the dark and winding places lies a garden where new life is in bloom. Clean, clear and vibrant, it is the very heart of a new season. Spring has come. Beds of Lupamax and Incognito hops pepper the warm breeze with tropical and juicy notes, while the sound of water pulsing over rocks envelops you. Shake off the heavy coat of winter and dive into a brighter season. Lush, vibrant and clear, Bloom Springs, the 14th Counterculture release. Bloom Springs joins a tradition of beers that goes against the grain. Statement for the hopheads. For the hopheads, brewed using the freshest Citra, Mosaic and Eldorado from the latest in Bath Haas hop innovation range, including Lupamax, Incognito and Spectrum, which was mentioned there earlier on in the blurb. So Incognito and Spectrum, they are a free-flowing hop byproduct, extraction if you call it, if you will, is extracted under controlled conditions at low temperature, so it's more of a laboratory byproduct. Whereas the Lupamax is a Lupamax enriched T90 pellet, so it's still in pellet form, but it has some extremely good traits about those particular hops that come from the Lupamax series. Lupamax, very, very at home and comfortable at any stage of the brewing process there. Incognito and the Spectrum hops, they're more suited to your hop forward beers, and most definitely at the tail end of your brewing process. So they would put them in as a similar to a hop stand edition, or most likely with those particular ones, these two, the Incognito and the Spectrum, I'd be using them similar to the way you do a dry hop. So your day 3s, your day 5s, and so on, wherever you feel pleased to use your dry hops in your brewing process. If your recipe states that it's got to go on at a certain time, that's what you do. These being free-flowing product, you are gaining a lot of flavour and aroma, aromatics that come from those particular types of hops, and the removal of a lot of the vegetal flavours and aromas that come from using hop pellets and other sort of hop products along those lines, dry hop cone flowers and things like that. these products are, although they're on the top end of the budget for a lot of brewers, you don't need as much, and the quality of the product that comes from that is exceptional. So we'll get these chilled down and we'll do a review of what's inside the can. So I'm really looking forward to this one, and once again I'm definitely going to keep supporting Stone and Wood, and without a doubt counterculture. Cheers. Alright guys, nice and chilled, ready to go. So we're going to have this one in the Hoppy Days Tecu glass, one of my favourites at the moment. Really la-di-da-di-da sort of glass. Okay, so I'm not going to smell the can, but I can smell it from here, which is pretty good start. Bloody a beautiful colour, no doubt about it. Nice little pinky finger head there. So I do have some varieties of those, Incognito and the Spectrum. There to use in the brewing process quite soon, so that is probably going to use those in the next lot of my beers. But here goes. So I think I've had 2 other beers that have used similar types of hops in them. That's really good carbonation. So yeah, we'll give that a go in our own beers very soon. Nose, very fresh, very vibrant, vibrant smelling beer. This one. Now we are experiencing this, able to try this out 2 weeks ahead of their scheduled release to the bottle shops, resale outlets. So we are lucky. So they did put out their post on their page there on Facebook, Instagram, and yeah, they're saying that they've brought this one forward 2 weeks. We weren't supposed to get this shipped out for another 2 weeks, so we're quite lucky. We're probably looking at 3 to 4 weeks before it gets sent out to be sold through the outlets. So it's a beautiful colour. That's absolutely so inviting looking, that beer. Taste. Yum. So it's sort of creamy on the palate. The first sip sort of come across really creamy. Those hops are just singing volumes of aroma and flavour out of the glass. Very hop forward, but still just mellow enough to allow those grains to come through, that malt bill to come through. Very well balanced, that's all I can say. Smells unreal. For a new age IPA, take from that what you will, but a new age IPA, so it's obviously using new style of hops, and if not that, and or a new style of malt or grain bill. A lot of really good grains coming through at the moment too. That's forever changing. What comes with limited release hops also comes limited release malts. Not that there's probably any limited release malts in this, but certainly be quite limited in what you can buy when it comes to the Spectrum, Lupamax and Incognito hops. All I can say is yeah, Stone and Wood, this is a very, very nice, new aged IPA. Very palatable. It's very cleansing. Lots of aroma, lots of flavour. I'll certainly buy more of this, no doubt about it. When it's released in the shops, I'll go and grab some more. Cheers. Right, guys, so I wanted to allow it to warm a little bit. It did come out of the freezer into the fridge. It was quite chilled at the time when I opened it, and just to sort of get it to that temperature, about 5-6 degrees, but it would have been a lot lower than that, just to see whether anything sort of changed. And I imagine it would have, because serving a beer too cold can have consequences on the flavour and aroma of that particular beer. So we've done that. So I'm picking up all those really good common traits, descriptors that you get from those hops that have gone into it: the Mosaic, Eldorado, and the Citra. I'm getting the bubblegum, the pineapple, the bright citrus, the bright orange flavours that come from Citra, but predominantly the Mosaic and the Eldorado. So the Eldorado does have that slight grassy, spicy herbal note to it, as well as the fruit that comes across with it. So like slight gooseberries and things like that come with the Eldorado. The big one for me is the Mosaic. The Mosaic's coming through the most. The bubblegum descriptor is much different than the descriptor you'd put against a bubblegum you get from the Saison yeast. So that's more of a really juicy fruit type bubblegum, chewing gum type thing you get from the Saison yeast. But the bubblegum descriptor of the Mosaic hop it comes across a whole lot different. So lots of sorts of strawberries and strong berries. Particularly almost like a watermelon as well that comes across with the Mosaic, but it's a different sort of bubblegum flavour. Really, really nice descriptor from Mosaic. Why it's one of my favourites. A bit of a chameleon hop for me when I've used it in brewing. I've used it in smash beers. I've used it in quite a variety of beers, just to be a little bit different, left field like most of my brewing is. Yeah, certainly Mosaic. So I'm picking up those bright orange, bright citrus, bubblegum, and slight herbal, spice and grassy notes. Using the Incognito, the Spectrum and the Lupamax, you try to avoid sort of getting those sort of descriptors from those hops, particularly the grassiness, because the reason for those products is to get away from that, as I mentioned earlier, the vegetal flavours and aromas that you get from particular hops. Most hops that you get in pellet form will give you that sort of vegetal note, but yeah, certainly it's there a little bit, not as much as you would expect. So that descriptor sort of falls a little bit away when we go into using hop products like that. Bath Haas doing really good things. So looking forward to seeing more of their stuff coming into Australia, particularly through the homebrew supply chains, and we get away from using too many pelleted vegetal type hops. As mentioned, it's a little bit more expensive way to go about doing it. For some, they see it as too expensive, but you've got to understand you're using less. So less is more when it comes to things like that. Once again, a really good beer. I was looking forward to it, and glad I sort of stuck by by their side and followed them through. And hopefully, like I mentioned, I don't think it's going to happen, but the transition is has no change whatsoever on the product. Cheers.